Today's guest played in 688 NHL regular games, patrolling the right wing for the Montreal Canadiens, Boston Bruins, and the New York Rangers. Fiercely loyal to his teammates and his club, he answered the call every time, racking up over 3,000 penalty minutes during his pro career against some of the toughest players in the NHL. He was drafted 231st overall out of Northeastern University by the Canadiens. He played for the Nova Scotia Voyageurs in the AHL before being called up in the 1979-1980 season, when he became a regular the following season for almost 8 years total in Montreal, where he had a season high of 21 goals in 1984-85, 19 in the following year when the Canadiens won their 23rd Stanley Cup. Presently, he's the host of his Raw Knuckles podcast, a Canadian team ambassador, as well as working with the Liam Foundation. Let's welcome today's guest, Chris Knuckles Nilan. Welcome, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Adam. Yeah, cool stuff. Looking forward to this.
Well, the interesting thing for me is that you've traveled the path of a warrior, a survivor. You've shed light on the darkness of the shadows of your life, rising up from the ashes, which is a real human story for many of the average, person to understand or at least try to grasp. And, we all go through our trials and tribulations, and yet some people sometimes don't come off their high horse in order to, be a human being and shed their story in order to be vulnerable. And in your case, when I listen to your interviews on your podcast and I see the stuff you post on Instagram, it's very relatable. And even though you've been in a place where you've had a specific place and status of being an NHL player. Yeah. So you grew up in Boston following the Boston Bruins with Espo, Cheevers, Hodge, and the rest of the gang there. And I read that Bobby Orr was your idol growing up. Then you go on to Northeastern College. And so let's ask, first of all, what it was like going to college. What was your expectations? What was your role in college when you started out?
Well, growing up in Boston, Bobby Orr came in the 60s there, and, hockey really became popular. There's always a lot of hockey around Boston. There wasn't a lot of rinks. All the colleges had teams. The Boston Skating Club was the main rink. There were a few other ones around, but there weren't a lot of rinks. When Bobby Orr came to Boston, every kid wanted to be Bobby Orr, playing street hockey, everything. And then, the city of Boston and the state got together. Actually, it was a state more so, but they wanted to give kids, inner city kids, another outlet. Basketball courts and there's some field around to play baseball and stuff, but hockey rinks weren't a lot. So what the state did, the Metropolitan District Commission, they started putting rinks up around the city in the neighborhoods. One of them was put at the end of my street. The one in Charlestown, all the boroughs, if you will. We call them neighborhoods. You guys call them boroughs, but East Boston, the Italian section. North End, the Italian section at the time, and still is. They put rinks there. South Boston, Irish section. Dorchester, same. A rink in Dorchester, West Roxbury, Irish neighborhood, where I grew up. They put a rink there that served a couple of neighborhoods, West Roxbury, Rosendale. And then they built another one over in Hyde Park. So they popped up Brighton. They popped up all around the city. Then they started Boston Neighborhood Hockey League. First, I played Pee-wee hockey in Parkway Youth Hockey, where I grew up. We started there. Then I moved on to from there, the Boston Neighborhood Hockey League, where you went around and played all the different neighborhoods. Won the championship there with when I was a Pee-wee my second year. We beat Charlestown over at Harvard. And then the next level, I played Bantam for a team called Hub City. It was an all-star team from kids around the city. And we started playing down in, some of the suburban areas, Hingham, Cohasset, different places. So that's how my career took off. Loved Bobby Orr, the Bruins. And, I played high school hockey, played freshman, I didn't make the varsity till I was a junior. My senior year, I had a good year, but all the kids are going off to college. I had nowhere to go.
Right.
I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I talked with my coach, Coach Hansen. He was also a guidance counselor. Coach Hansen made a suggestion that I look at going to prep school for a year. I never heard of prep school, and I wasn't the best student. And one of my coaches was a judge, Judge Paul King. His brother was the governor, the state of Massachusetts, Ed King, and Judge King loved me. He just loved me. He saw something in me when we played for Hub City that I guess he didn't see in other kids. And I used to go for pizza with him. He had 7 kids. He worked in the most difficult court in the city, Dorchester District Court, one of the most violent neighborhoods in the city. And he was the Chief Justice there. And he had arthritis. He was all hunched over, the poor bastard. And, he would go to the chiropractor in the morning just to get squared away a little, go to work all day. Then he'd come down afterwards, drive down the rink and be on the ice with all these kids, wow. None of whom were his kids, but he loved the game. Boom. So he wrote a recommendation for me to get into prep school up in Northwood School in Lake Placid, New York. That's where I ended up going. Coach Hansen kind of gave me some names of different schools. We checked a few, and the one in Lake Placid, Northwood, I really liked it. Judge King wrote that recommendation. I get in there, I got a half scholarship. It was like $3,000 at the time. I think my dad had to pay $1,500. A lot of money. 75, 76. Right, and right. I played that year of prep. And the judge, when I left, he told me, here's the deal. 3 things out of you. 1, stay out of trouble. 2, do your work in school. And 3, hockey. Pay attention. Do your thing in hockey. I'm not so much worried about that. The first 2 I'm worried about. And I ended up, when I left, was ready to graduate that school, I got the most improved student. I got the most improved hockey player. And I got in some trouble, but not bad. And the judge, my last game of the season was at Boston College, and we were playing their JV. And he was coming to the game, and he brought the coach in Northeastern with him, Fernie Flaman, former Boston Bruin. Fernie watched the game. I met him afterwards. He said, hey, listen, when you get back from New York here in the summer, I'm going to have you come in. We'll set up a time. You come in and see me. If you have some interest in our university, I'd like to talk to you about it. So I was excited. Right. I came home. I met with him. He offered me a full ride. And I was looking forward to going to college and enjoying that college experience. Right. But my father, who certainly didn't trust me because I was a wild kid, I got in some trouble growing up, which I get. He didn't want me living at that school because he couldn't keep an eye on me. So I ended up living at home, and I went to Northeastern. I made the team my freshman year. Got in a fight off the ice, had teeth in my hand. I ended up in the hospital, had an infection. I missed part of the season. So it's tough that way. But so second year, had a good year, and I ended up getting drafted in the 17th round by the Habs, which was a shock to me, and a lot of my teammates. I played a physical style of hockey, the Bruins, but I loved the game, and I played it the way the Bruins played it. And in college, it's really not conducive to that part of the game. I didn't fight. Right. I won fight in 3 years at college. And so that was it. I went off to Northeastern and ended up getting drafted. And it was like a shock to everybody. And I can tell you how that happened at some point. But
that's what I was going to ask you. That was the interesting. I've seen many interviews, and I'm very fascinating in terms of how you found out and what took place or escalated from that. Maybe you
found out in a bar, college bar. Yeah. Someone said, "Hey, Tom, you've been drafted by the Canadiens." And they, what? I just didn't believe it. I'm like, well, you're pulling my leg. He said, no. So we were in the front bar of this college bar, and we ran in the back, and there was another TV in there, and they've switched channels, and the sports hadn't come on yet, and it was just coming on when we got there. They changed the channel first, and sure enough, they talked about all the local kids that play college that got drafted by NHL teams, and I was one. So I'm like, wow. I was shocked. I'm like, crazy. So I ended up getting drafted, and I wanted to leave school that year after I was drafted. And my father had something to say about that too. My father, former Green Beret, very disciplined guy, black and white, right and wrong. Henry was on it. He was a man of strong faith and values, and he didn't want me to leave school. So I stayed one more year and didn't pay attention to my schoolwork. I was just wanting to play hockey. My mind was not in the school part of it. And I ended up leaving after that year and turning pro in '79.
Did he speak to you at all, your father, about, like, in terms of what his expectations were regarding if you made it, or did he tone you down a bit?
He told me, listen, here's the deal. You leave school, you're putting all your cherries into one bowl. You know, you can finish your school and then go to hockey afterwards. You know, when you graduate, then you can go off and, you know, go to camp with the Canadiens. I want to go now. Blah, blah, blah. You're making a mistake. Blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't do this. You're the first kid here to go to college in our family. You got a scholarship. We couldn't afford it. And, you know, he, told me all that stuff. And, I heard it, but I didn't.
It's interesting. I wanted to interrupt you for a second, because
that's fine.
I know I grew up challenging my father. And I challenged my father because of, I guess there's always a person in the family who has to break some of the cycles that exist or take place. And for me, I noticed it very early on that I didn't think I can go on the way I was going on. And so I was wondering if at any point when you were going through things, did you just go along with the system, or did you question things that existed?
No, I questioned things. But I also knew the trouble I get in was of my own making. And I was a wild kid. And, my father disciplined with his hands. And, I was one of them kids that when I went out the front door, I knew I had to take it in my house. If I wanted to stay there, where am I going to go? Run away? Where am I going to end up?
Right.
And so when I went out the front door, I just had this attitude that no one's ever going to put a fucking hand on me. And if they do, they're going to fucking pay. Right, I'm not fucking taking shit from anybody. I have to take it from my dad. And I took quite a bit. And, I can say, deservedly so in some case. I was, I did some wild shit and got in some trouble. And, that's the way he knew how to discipline someone.
Right.
And it wasn't working.
Yeah. I was gonna say that you're a very loyal teammate and a very loyal person. Well, probably I know it from hockey, but off the rink as well, and the ability to get along with everyone and to at least try to understand people. So how did your father, where did the loyalty come in? Where did you learn that?
Well, just my dad and his military career, his love of the nation, his values that he passed on to us. But again, here's one thing. My father hated fucking liars. I hate liars. Don't ever fucking lie to me. And I knew I did shit I got in trouble for. Fuck, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to get my ass kicked. If I'm going to lie and he found out I lied, now I'm going to get it fucking 10 times worse. So, and my father, God rest his soul, he would tell you, I did tell the truth. I fucking, I paid for it, but that's the way he chose the discipline. And, it really, I got sick of it. I fucking hated it. I hated it. But I think that's part of the way, certainly I developed as a young man. I see my dad a couple of times. I know, one night a bunch of fucking kids come by. They knocked the barrels over in front of the house. He went out and fucking grabbed them, smacked them, fucking picked everything up, made them, you know, he threw some guy through a window at Brigham's one night. Two guys challenged him, come out of a bar. You know, he didn't take shit. And he was the type of guy that if he saw something wrong, he'd stick his nose in there. And a lot of that rubbed off on me. You know, I remember the night my sister Susan, kids come by from the skating rink, and they were yelling, Susan Nilan, you're a fucking whore, you this, that. My father grabbed her and said, put your clothes, you're in the pajamas, put some clothes on, come on, we're going to put a stop to this. Like, and went up the end of the street, caught them all. And my father got out of the car, took my sister out. And my father said, who got something to say to Susan now? Say it to her. And on the way up, he was telling her, whoever the girl is, and if she said it, then fucking kick her fucking ass. Now, obviously, they don't tell kids to do that now. When you talk about bullying.
Right.
But I'll tell you one fucking thing. It stopped after that. My sister kicked her ass, ripped the hair out of her head, and beat the shit out of her. And she never had a problem again with any of them. And, you know, that's how my father was. And I learned a lot from him. Obviously, at my hockey days, I learned a lot from the Bruins on the hockey side of things. But my dad always said, you know, I don't want you fucking shitting on kids or, you know, picking on kids that may be less fortunate, may have some kind of disability, are fat. If I ever get a call from that school and that's what you're doing, you're going to have a fucking problem with it. And if anything, you better stick up for them kids. So he got the message across loud and clear.
So it was basically compassion for people who are the underdog.
Yeah.
Or the people who are in a lesser position, and you stand up for them, and don't. In other words, don't be the bully. Don't throw the first punch. If somebody starts with you, then you're there. I can understand that. You told an interesting story that I think is very fascinating. Maybe you probably told it numerous times, but when you got drafted, I think you said you were outside the Boston Garden with a friend of yours, and you picked up a few interesting people, and had a kind of serendipitous moment where you that was very fascinating.
Yeah, I was drafted by the Habs. Went to see the Bruins Canadiens practice in 78, 79. They were in the playoffs. Was game 4. And in Boston, we went to the practice in the morning to see the Habs skate. My buddy Franny Flaherty said, listen, why don't you see if you can get some tickets up and we'll go to game 5.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I went and asked the guy, and he said, no, I don't take care of that. Talk to that guy over there. So his name was Howard Grumman. He was like the road secretary. I said, hey, listen, I was drafted by you guys. I'm wondering if I get a couple tickets up in Montreal. And he goes, really? You're drafted by, what's your name? I gave it to him. He opened the guidebook, found my name. He said, okay, we'll leave your tickets. We leave the building. And Franny had a big old Continental Mark IV, awesome, badass looking car. Well, we looked like a couple gangsters. And we pull up, and Lafleur, Lupien, and Lemay were standing in the corner looking for a cab. There were no cabs around. So Franny said, should we pick them up? I mean, yeah, why not? Pull up, roll up on them. And, you know, Franny said, hey, you guys want to ride the hotel? Where are you staying? You're staying in a Hyatt, aren't you? Over in Cambridge? Yeah. Like, kind of like, how's this guy know? Anyway, they got their Stanley Cup rings on, all of them. And they look at each other. And Loopy, the biggest, he's like 6. Loopy was like 6'7". And he said, yeah, come on. So they jumped in the car, and we're driving, and Franny's talking to him, hey, you know, good luck. You guys are playing good. Blah, blah. We're Bruins fans, all. And I said, yeah, I'm a Bruins fan, but I was drafted. But, you know, no, first I said, I'm going to be up there with you guys next year. And they're, how are you going to do that? I said, I was drafted by you guys. And they're like, really? You were drafted by us? Where do you play hockey? I said, I play at Northeastern here in Boston. I was drafted last year. And Lemay said, oh, yeah, you were drafted. They said, what round were you drafted? I said, the 17th. I was all proud and shit. The three of them started cracking up. Like, this kid don't have a fucking clue. He don't have a chance in hell. The 17th round. Right. And I didn't know anything about it. I knew nothing about the draft. I just figured, I got drafted. I got the same chance as the fucking guy who got drafted number 1. You know, he might be a little bit better player, but you know, I got the same chance. So that's the way I thought they thought, but they were like, "Oh, you don't have a clue, kid."
Oh my God.
So they were laughing. We talked. We dropped them off. Drove up to Montreal the next day, and we go in to get the tickets, and I gave my name, and lady come back and said, "That'll be $275." Okay. I'm like, so that's the difference between a first round pick and a 17th round pick. I had to pay for my own tickets. Actually, thank God Franny had a credit card because I was a college kid and have a pot to piss in, and yeah, so it was a cool story. Then I show up to training camp.
Yeah, but before that you played for the Nova Scotia Voyageurs, correct?
Yeah, but I came to camp first in Montreal.
Oh, okay. So yeah, tell us.
You come to training camp, and I'm in the room, and I see LaFleur staring at me, and I'm like looking back at him. I'm like, what's he looking at? Like, and he finally said, "Hey, you Tabernac." He said, "You're the kid from Boston. You give us a ride, huh?" I said, "Yeah, I fucking told you I was going to be here." So he said, "Yeah, you did." Boom. So started laughing. Then I'm out in the ice. The team we're playing against, Lupien's on there. And I'm lined up against him. And he's fucking looking at me. And I'm like, fuck. I thought he wanted to fight me. He's a fighter. And I'm like, fuck, this guy going to fight me? And he finally said, "Hey, it's you, the kid from Boston." And I said, "Fucking right. I told you I was going to be here." He said, "Hey, awesome. Yeah, boom. Anyway, so we go the whole, I went off to Nova Scotia. I ended up getting called up. But later in the year, Lemaire had left. And he went over to Switzerland. And their season ends early. So we used to go to lunch every day. And we go over to lunch at the tavern. And I'm sitting there. And Larry Robinson said, "Hey, Chris, I want you to meet someone." I come down. It was Lemaire. He said, "This is Jacques Lemaire I used to play with." Jacques said, "Who's this kid in Ireland that's doing all the fighting this year?" He wanted to meet me. And I meet him. I said, "Hey, Jacques, how you doing?" And he looks at me. He goes, "Fuck, you're the kid who gave us a ride in Boston." I said, "Yeah, I fucking told you I was going to be here." He said, "I knew you were coming to camp. I didn't think you were going to make the team." Wow. And sure enough, I went off I trained at Camp Montreal. I got sent down there. My good friend in life and my teammate at the time was Tim Burke from Boston. Just a great kid. He really helped lead me around. I didn't fucking have a clue about anything, what pro hockey was all about, just what I saw on TV. And, I ended up making a place for myself there, started scoring goals. I was protecting guys. And, I got ice time because of that. I protected a kid named Rick Maha, who played for Boston University, a very good player. I played on his line, and he was a talent. He was the top line. He was a talented guy. I ended up playing with him. Fucking nobody fucked with him. He scored a lot of points, and I did. So that's basically all she wrote. I played 49 games there, and I had 15 goals, 10 assists, 25 points, and I had 304 minutes in penalties. I was fighting.
Let me just stop you for 1 second. So you were an American play in the AHL, I guess, in the Nova Scotia League, a Canadian league.
Yeah, what was the American Hockey League?
Yeah, okay. So what was the attitude from the Canadian point of view? Because I remember growing up, and the first players coming into the NHL, I guess not LaFontaine, there were other players that were coming in that were, American born. When you went to what was the attitude towards you as an American player there?
Yeah, we weren't good. It's their game, all that. And, there weren't a lot of Americans, but they were starting to come. And obviously 79, 80, we know what happened. U.S. winning the gold medal.
Right. And
that opened a lot of eyes. But, right away, I'm a college kid.
Right.
And they think, all right, he's a fucking pussy. They don't fight in that game. They're not tough, So, I remember one of the first exhibition games I played in. I had an altercation with someone on the ice. Bam Belanger, his name was. I pushed him. He pushed me back, and we got broken up and went back to the bench. And kid Dave Allison looked on the bench, and now the coach, Bert Templeton, loved tough guys, and he just loved tough guys. And Allison, he was supposed to be a tough guy from the Ontario League. He looks down the bench. He says, "Hey, fucking college kid, you fucking trying to start a brawl? You ever been in a fucking brawl before?" I'm there. Fuck you. You don't know what a fucking brawl is. You fucking hockey fight. Fucking, you ever been fucking shot at or stabbed, you fuck? So I give it right to him. Now the coach on the bench, he loved it. So Allison, I don't say a fucking word to him the rest of the way. I went out the next shift and I fucking fought Belanger. And I did good. So now Allison's like, holy fuck, college kid? And anyway, Redzy, I never said a word to him the rest of training camp. And then we went to Maine. I had a 5-game tryout for $250 a game, 5-game tryout. So they're going to look at me in a real game. Boom. I end up sitting out the first 4 games. Wow. The first game I do play is in Maine, which is Philly's farm team. And they had a real tough team. They actually kicked the shit out of the Canadiens the year before in the playoffs, 4 straight. And they beat them up. They had nobody. And first game, I'm in Maine. My family's all up there. And sure enough, I go out and I run a kid, Glenn Cochran, big fucking defenseman, like 6'4", 230, whatever. And we ended up dropping the gloves. And I come across and I hit him with a fucking right. And I cut him open really good, bleeding. He went nuts. I went nuts. We got kicked out of the game. The next day, I got a call from the coach. He said, "Come down the room. I want to talk to you. I think I'm getting sent down to the International League." He said, "Hey, do you have an agent?" I'm there. "No, why?" He said, "Because the Canadiens just called and they want to sign you to a NHL contract." And they're, "What?" So they want to sign your contract. And that's how it started. Right there, that one fight. And, man, the contract went on. The name went on the contract. And then I just started. Once I fought him and beat him, everybody heard around the league. So now everybody's going to try me. I mean, I fought almost every night. It's fucking crazy.
So you're at this point now where life is going like a merry-go-round, so to speak. And you're on the merry-go-round, and do you ever have the moment to sit back and reflect a little bit on like what's going on and how are you so fortunate? No.
Okay. Just doing it.
Yeah. You were just
focused, doing it, getting ready for the next game. Tim Burke, like I said, helped me out big time. Just learning. All the shit I had to learn about the game and what goes on and expectations and stuff. Yeah.
So now you get called up. You're in Montreal, I guess, the next year, the training camp. That year with Cochran or the following?
Yeah, I got called up game 49.
Okay.
Game 50 was going to be against Syracuse. And Dave, the Hammer Schultz.
Really?
Sent down to Syracuse.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So this is a Monday. I go to practice. Afterwards, the coach says, "Come up to my office. I got to see you." So I go up the office, and he says, "Hey, congratulations." I said, "What?" He said, "You got called up by the Canadiens. You have to be in Atlanta tomorrow." I'm like, "What?" Anyway, so my plane's going to leave. I take off. I fly out the door. I get home, fucking next thing, cab's coming. I forgot my equipment. I was so fucking happy. I just got in the cab and left, never grabbed my equipment. I didn't know if they took care of it or what, but I had to take my own equipment. It's crazy.
Right.
And off I went. I was off and running. And I got called up. I went to Atlanta, played the next night. Nervous as hell.
Yeah.
Forgot everything.
Yeah. Huh? Who was their tough guy? Willie Plett?
They had a bunch. Willie, Ken Houston. And, I only got a couple shifts. And the guy who called me up, Claude Durrell, who I absolutely loved as a coach. He loved me, worked with me every day. But he was awesome. Short little fat guy lost his eye playing junior hockey. And just, I loved him. He's a great mentor for me. And, but that was just the beginning, so I didn't really know him that well yet. But
right.
And then the next game, were in Philadelphia and they started running around, like I was actually bummed out after my first game because I'm like, I forgot everything I learned down there. And I kind of froze up in the big moment. So I'm there, fuck, I'm going to get sent back down. Blah, blah.
Yeah. The pressure.
Yeah. And the next game, I got put out on the ice. They started running around. And then Claude said in the bench behind me, he said, hey, Yankee, he called me Yankee boy because I was American. He said, Yankee boy, don't be afraid of these guys. They are men just like us. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I looked out, the fucking Bob Daly's like 6'6", fucking this other guy. They have fucking big team, Ben Wilson. Like they have fucking giant men. And anyway, I get sent on the ice and Hound Dog Kelly, I was facing off against him. He fucking give me the stick. I give it back. The puck dropped our gloves. I give it to him, got him down. Then I got out and I assisted on the winning goal. And I couldn't have been happier. I just fucking, it was awesome. I'm there, fuck, I got it. And yeah, I was off and running after that game, my second game.
What was it like, well, at least in your mindset of like, did you have in the back of your mind saying, I can't wait to get to Boston to show my family that I'm here, my friends? Did you have any of that?
No. Like I said, you know, I was taking a game at a time. Yeah, I'm like, fuck, I just wanted to stay there. I wanted to stay focused. You know, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to reflect and say, oh, you know, this is going to happen soon or that. I didn't. I was just so focused on what I was doing.
Yeah. All right. So now you're in the Montreal Canadiens, and then you walk into the Forum. I guess you see the history of all the players and the whole shebang and everything you're affiliated with right now. Did you have any thoughts at all saying that in your mindset that now I play for a team that was once the rival of the team I grew up with?
Yeah, it was a team I certainly I hated growing up. I hated them because they always beat the Bruins. I was such a passionate Bruins fan. And once we started playing the Bruins, you know, I started fighting O'Reilly, Jonathan, the whole slew of them. It was like, then it changed pretty quickly. You know, I go to my hometown and 17,000 people chanting Nilan sucks. You know, my parents were proud, all that stuff. And yeah, honestly, it didn't bother me. I understood it. From a young age, I understood it. And, you know, I know Mario Trombley, a teammate, said to me, listen, they're saying Nilan sucks, but they're really telling you they want you on their team.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's so true, you know. So, yeah, I was off and running.
Yeah, for the most part, hockey players, I guess, more in touch with the authenticity of who they are, and you know, they're not too high on a high horse, as we mentioned earlier. For me, who was the humbling person in your life? Was it a teammate? Was it somebody that spoke to you? Was it your father that kept you?
My father. I remember one night I come out of the Forum in the back where they waited in the garage, and people were asking for autographs, and I was taking pictures of them. And when I was done, we're going to get in the car, and he said to me, I'm going to tell you right now, that's all great and good. Don't ever forget where you come from, and fucking keep your feet on the ground. Don't let this shit go to your head. Keep your fucking feet planted on the ground. And I'll never forget the night he said it. And I think for the most part I did. During my career, I certainly I got involved in different things off the ice that were a way of giving back to the city and being grateful. And, you know, I did a lot of hospital visits, the children's. I had a golf tournament, raised money for the children's hospital, what they really needed. But yeah, like that was him, and that's came from him. You know, you're not a fucking big cheese. You know, you play hockey, I get it. People, you got fans that love you and all that, but fucking keep your feet on the ground. Don't ever be a fucking cocky asshole.
Yeah, yeah. What was the pressure like day in and day out fighting? I mean, you look at NHL hockey today, which the game has changed so much, where the enforcer's taken, you know, has a place in some capacity, but nothing like what you experienced. So
yeah, you know, you hear a lot of fighters. They talk about how they hated it, they couldn't sleep, I loved doing what I did. I did. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I had no fear. Oh, I had no fear. I'm the fucking toughest guy out there. No.
Right.
You know, there's guys on the other team that are dangerous, that are big, that are tough. But I loved sticking up for my teammates. I loved it. And I just didn't take shit from anybody. And, I knew, the fighting part, it's certainly tough, but I actually enjoyed it. I did. But like I said, for a second, I won't sit and say, oh,
I understand.
I was never scared, or I never had fear in me, because I did. But fear can be a great motivator. A lot of people, fear is no good, but it can be a great motivator.
Absolutely.
What do people do? They either stand and fight, you fucking head for the hills, or you freeze.
Yeah, well, it's the people who at least admit they're afraid that actually have the courage to go on. That's a leader. With regards to when you fought someone, who was the person that you had in mind that you were going to have the most difficult time with? Like, in other words, it would just keep going on and on. Was there one player?
Not really. People always ask me, who was the toughest guy? Who was it?
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you a story. All them guys that do that job are fucking tough. They're special in their own right.
Right.
But you got to be tough to do that job. You got to have balls. And sure, some guys don't like it. My teammate John Kordick hated it, never wanted to do it, but did it because he wanted to play in the NHL.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I knew when to do it. I got good at it. I remember my first game against the Bruins when I fought Jonathan and O'Reilly right afterwards. And it changed me. And it changed me for the good. I fought Jonathan, and I got out, and I had hit a kid, Bobby Miller. He was a Boston kid. I ran him against the glass. Jonathan came right after me. We fought. Did good. Later, in the third period, my centerman got kicked out of the faceoff. Doug Jarvis. And the Bruins centerman got kicked out. So two guys go in. Bob Gainey went to go in. O'Reilly went in. And I said, Bob, let me take it. He said, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I want to take it. So I fucking beat him on the draw, and he chopped me. And I dropped my gloves and I threw a punch, and he hit me with two lefts right in the fucking button. Boom, boom. And the blood just poured out of my head. And anyway, we go to the penalty box, and my fucking pride is wounded. I'm there, bad shit. Started getting toys in the attic. Oh, I lost O'Reilly. They're going to send me down to bring someone else up. All that. And I got in the penalty box, and he was going, pointing at his left. I'm there, whatever. And I loved O'Reilly. I loved him.
Yeah.
So that was part of it, too. I got one of my heroes fucking handed it to me. So I sat there that night, and I thought, while I'm sitting in the penalty box, I said, I cannot fight like that all the time, or I will not last.
Right.
I'm going to break my jaw. I'm going to break, something bad's going to happen. My confidence will be shaken. I got to fight smart. I just ain't stand there and swing away like a nut. And that looks great and all that.
Right.
But boy, when you get hit with a lucky punch, like Bouchard did from Jonathan the year before, it can be devastating.
Right.
And I believe me, I've taken my punches. But
So what was the strategy? What was the strategy?
Well, the strategy was, most of these guys are bigger than me. So what am I going to let them string me out at the end of the round? All my punches will be short. So I said, I have to fight the way I want to fight, not the way they want me to fight. I got to know if a guy's a righty or a lefty. And once I know, and you knew most of the guys are righties, I would always focus on taking that guy's strength away. Okay, so if he's a righty, I go in and I grab him right here, right away. And I get a good grip and I plant my feet. And then if he started trying to throw that, I would provide resistance. And I turn my head, and they'd be swinging and starting to get tired.
Yes.
And I was a really good second half fighter. I had great max VO2. And I would start trying to throw my right some of the time, but that would conserve my energy. And I would wait maybe 5, 6 punches. I felt them coming through. And then I would, that 6 punch would come and I would let go and come back with my left real quick and stun him and then grab him again and then get my right going. I would throw over and then I'd come up underneath. And it was effective. Like, fuck, I never broke my nose.
Yeah,
I got fucking cut once by Barry Beck. He had a cast on his hand. I a couple bruises, a little black eye here and there, but nothing fucking crazy. No, nothing broken, my jaw, none of that. And, I lost my teeth with a puck and a stick, but, yeah, so.
Yeah.
I became a very good technical fighter. And people, I hear people say, oh, Nilan, he didn't stand and swing all the time. Or he grab on. Fucking right, I grab on. I fought smart. I'm not going to fucking, I'm not here to fucking please you. And you tell, I'll fight like a fucking nutbag so you can watch me get my fucking ass handed to me.
Yeah,
I'm going to
absolutely.
be smart and be a smart fighter and survive.
Yeah.
Survive this league. So for the most part, I mean, if you lose really bad, your team's confidence gets shaken. Yours does. So a lot of times, I'd win fights. I won a lot of my fights, but even the ones I didn't look like I got my fucking ass kicked. I showed up.
Right.
And that goes a long way with your teammates. Regardless of what fucking people say. Oh yeah, it doesn't change the game. It doesn't do this. Doesn't always. But believe me, when you go into Boston or Philly and you can look around the room and tell which guys are fucking scared, you can fucking tell.
It's so.
And when you're there to stick up for them, you can also tell how fucking relieved they are and happy.
Right.
So anyway, yeah. So I became a good technical fighter, smart fighter.
I remember. I'm born in '65, so I remember watching the Flyer games and the Ranger games because I was a Ranger fan. So
yeah.
I remember watching the game and feeling the energy on TV. Mm-hmm. You could feel the hostility building with the fans. You could feel the hostility building with the announcers, being partial to whatever was wrong, right or wrong, and regardless. There was no proper analysis of anything. So it was an intimidating environment. So I could just imagine what it was like to be in that setting. And I watched a lot of the fights from NHL, and I saw the close-in grasp to keep yourself from protecting yourself, which is let the guy tire himself
from getting strung out.
Yes, absolutely.
A guy gets you by the shoulder and he holds you way out there. Your punches are short.
Yeah.
You're gonna get your ass kicked.
Yeah. So
if you get in tight enough on those big guys, one, they have a harder time hitting you because their arms are so long.
Right.
And then you can throw up underneath. It's funny. I remember buddy of my black belt, Tom Regan, and he was a good fighter, good street fighter. And he was watching me. He said, Chris, I'm watching you fight. You got a really good uppercut, but the one thing you're doing wrong. He said, what do you do when you throw an uppercut? You aim at the chin. I said, yeah, aim at the chin. He said, you aim at the chin, you might hit it, but most of the time you're going to miss. Aim for the chest. Aim for the chest. Chances are then you'll hit him on the chin. And if you don't, you're going to hit him in the chest somewhere, and your punch will come up and follow through, and you'll get him somewhere underneath. So it was a great piece of advice for me. He studied my fights and told me, and it really helped me. I started throwing uppercuts. Everybody always threw like this. I don't know. Someone else will probably try and claim it, but I'm one of the first to start throwing them uppercuts.
Yeah. All right. So you engaged in this
pugilistic skills.
Yes, but then you also had the ability to score goals, and you scored 21 goals in 1984 and 85, and that must have been such a euphoric feeling to be able to score and have the crowd behind you. What was more exciting, scoring a goal or getting into a fight with somebody that was like the crowd was expecting to, be loud? A goal.
Goal.
Okay.
Not close. Nothing like scoring a fucking goal in the NHL, especially if it's an important one.
Right. And so
if it's 5-0, you make it 5-1. Yeah, not so much. But
I understand. Yeah. And then when you did score, it meant something for you because of the.
Yeah. I'm not just a tough guy. I hate the word goon. I
Right.
wasn't a
Right.
fucking goon. I was a loyal, fiercely loyal teammate, and I could play the game. And my passion for the Montreal Canadiens is such that when I look back and the opportunity I was given, thanks to the judge, and I'll tell you that how I got drafted, but I Claude Rel helped me big time. Jacques Lemaire. Lemaire used to take me in the circle, center ice, and he'd have a puck. He'd stand on the edge, and he said, "Where I pass the puck, you react to it. Go to it. Pass it back to me on your forehand, backhand, crossover, react to the puck. If I leave the puck in front of me, skate up to it. I want to work on your foot speed, your quickness." He did all that. He brought me down the fucking front of the net. And he put like 50 pucks. He said, "Here's the deal. Grab these, throw it on your forehand, throw it on your backhand. Get it up underneath the crossbar. And why I'm doing this for you and why I want you to practice this is because where are you going to be in the game when we have the puck up the point? You're going to be in front of the net. You're going to be going for screens and rebounds. And when you get a rebound in front of the net, chances are the goalie's going to be down. So you're going to have to get it up really quick, and forehand or backhand, you got to be able to do both. Because if it's on your backhand, you can't, I got to go with my forehand. You'll never make the shot.
Right,
so you
right.
got to practice those things every day. He worked with me, and he's the first guy that said, "You fight too much. You can play the game." And I absolutely love him, Jacques Lemaire and Claude Rel. Those two guys did so much for me. So I was able to come and be a full-time NHL player, and I could play in any situation. That's what I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
And it was,
Absolutely.
to be able to score a goal in the NHL is unbelievable. I love, talk about emotion and passion. I scored in the penalty shot in Montreal. It's unbelievable. Like, there ain't no fight gave me that feeling.
Right,
Not at all.
right.
Not close.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned Jacques Lemaire, and recently Guy Lafleur passed away last year, which was a very touching, first of all, ceremony, but also a touching part of history that was gone from, I guess, the NHL itself, but also the Canadian alumni and his presence in the history of the organization. I, for one, remember him coming down the right side and somebody dropping the puck back to him above the circle, and it was always a goal. Guy throwing his leg out for a kick, trying to kick save, but the goal opposite post. What was your relationship with him? And
I had a good one. Like, it was awesome. He's a superstar guy. His stature, he was very good to me. I remember my first year, he was hurt. That was one of the reasons I got called up, because he was hurt. Not to replace him, but I was just a warm body. And we had a Monday day off the team had, and I had to skate because I had just got there. I get to Verdun practice rink and get my stuff on, and who comes walking in? Guy. And we started talking, went out on the ice, fucking shot the breeze. He's helped me, show me some things, shooting the puck, different stuff. And he said, "What are you doing after? We'll go for lunch." We went for lunch. I couldn't fucking believe it. Now, went to Thursdays for lunch, and I'm like, okay, Guy Lafleur, star and all that. I got there, and it just really, it was incredible how this guy was revered here in Montreal. I was like, wow, that's fucking crazy. People just were like, it's him. It was like Jesus Christ himself.
yeah.
It's like, so, yeah, so that, and, we, over the years, I was with him the night he retired. Me and Chelios, he's driving us to the airport. We got there, and he said, "Listen, I'm done." We were like, "What?" "I'm not coming on the trip. I've had it." And he dropped us off, and so that was that. And then a couple years later, gonna make a comeback. And I was in New York with the Rangers, and Phil Esposito came to me and said, can LaFleur score 20 goals? I'm thinking of getting him. I mean, yeah, he'll score 20. He scored 18, but he only played 62 games. He had an injury, so he would have got the 20. That being said, it was awesome to be able to see him in New York, because at the game people know who he was, but on the street and he could kind of relax a little bit, and it was kind of cool to see. I got to see that firsthand. Yeah, I love Flower. My neighbor here, French guy, Sylvain, he we're out fishing one day, and he loves Guy Lafleur. So I'm would you like to meet Flower? He said, what do you mean? I said, he lives right over here. So I called Guy. I said, hey, I got my neighbor. He'd love to meet you. What do you say? And he said, sure, come, pull the boat up. So we pulled the boat up. We get in the yard. He was getting, and I didn't know at the time, but he was getting his cancer diagnosis the next day.
Wow, yeah.
It's only a couple of years ago.
Right.
And Buck, he come out. They talked to him in French. It was awesome. I took pictures. Sylvain was so happy, my neighbor, and Guy was so humble, so nice. We left in the boat, like Sylvain was almost in tears. He said, that's my hero. I can't believe I just was with him there, and he was talking to me like that.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, it was so emotional.
I understand.
It was awesome for both guys.
What made him so unique and so human? If that's the
he related to the people, even though he was a big a star as he was. He related to the people. He always had time for the people. Always signing autographs, taking pictures. Come from a small town in Quebec.
Right. Was he an example for you to how to handle yourself?
Oh yeah. Listen, a lot of guys on that team could fill that role. There are some classy men. Yeah, Serge Savard. I learned a lot from those guys.
Right.
How to dress. I was a college kid, sneakers and jeans all the time.
Right.
I learned how to dress, learned how to handle myself, learned how to fucking eat escargot.
Clean the shell out. So now you have this career in Montreal. I guess there's a falling out with the coach. You get traded to the Rangers. What's the feeling like coming from Montreal now to the Rangers? Does it feel like
I was devastated?
Yeah. What was it? Because of the trade itself, or the coming to New York?
Devastated.
Explain the feeling.
Listen, here's the deal. I got traded to St. Louis, and Serge, my friend, traded me. I challenged the coach. I put him in a bad situation, but I'm to this day, I believe, his best friend died the day before, and he was going through some shit. And I think when he heard that I had words with the coach, he enough. I've had enough. And the coach was a fucking idiot, to be honest with you. But anyway, when I got traded to St. Louis. And I said, Serge, I ain't going to St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
He said, well, where do you want to go? I said, and Serge loved me, and I loved him. Still do. We're still friends. And he said, I said, I want to go to Boston. He said, Chris, I can't do that. I'm not going to put you in Boston. You're going to come back and play against us all that time. No, I can't do it. He said, what about another team? I said, how about the Rangers? Because I know Phil had a guy there that worked with him for years that always talked to me. You'd be great here. We'd love to have you here. Not tampering, but he was a friend of Phil's. And I said, Phil would love you. So I said, why don't you call Phil? And he did. And off I went. But I was fucking devastated.
Yeah.
Broke me. It almost broke me.
Okay.
I didn't allow it to, but it almost did.
Yeah, but yet New York could have been a place, maybe not in the timing of where you were in your career and being traded from Montreal, but New York itself, people always say when you hear the people who played for each organization, they always have the mindset that I loved it there. If they were adored by the fans or they had a numerous amount of years. So you played in Montreal. It's interesting. I was listening to Barry Beck yesterday.
Yeah.
and he's in China now, and he was talking about being, being in New York, the center of attention, and the garden itself, the Mecca. Did you view anything positive about being in New York, or you just were focused in on the trade itself?
Yeah, like it was just so hard. No, I wasn't thinking about positives.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I was just so down.
Okay.
Fuck, I woke up the next day, I'm in the hotel, I'm like, what the fuck? I can't believe this. This sucks. I never, and I say never wanted to play for another team. I just never did. I gave my heart and soul to that organization. A lot of guys have, but I'm an emotional guy. And I'm sure there's other emotional guys. But I was so passionate about donning that red, white, and blue and that CH. I never wanted to play anywhere else. Now, I got to New York and I broke my arm a couple times. I hurt my knee in my third game against the Islanders, ligaments. I had the hockey hernia. I was getting beat up. I tried. I think, I got there. We made a run out of the playoffs. We won the last game of the season. And Chicago was playing Jersey. We beat Quebec the last day of this season, and Jersey was in Chicago. And if they tied or lost, we're in the playoffs. And we're watching that game finish after our game, and we're in the room. It's the first year I didn't make the playoff. And sure enough, John McClain tied it with less than, 5 minutes to go. They tied it, and then he scored in overtime to beat the Blackhawks, and we were out of the playoffs. So, well, we made it. That team didn't have a lot of balls. They weren't tough. And when I came, it changed. It changed.
Yeah, it was interesting. So you play in, what was it different playing in New York as opposed to Montreal in terms of the fans themselves? What was the atmosphere? What was the atmosphere like?
Montreal, you got the fans with the
the suits.
And
Yeah.
And New York, a little more rabid crowd,
Yeah.
Great fans, awesome fans. They were always good to me, accepting of me, back me big time. But I felt like I let them down because I was hurt.
Yeah,
I was hurt so much. I couldn't give them what they wanted. My body was starting to break down too. It got difficult from that standpoint. But I still protected my teammates. I still did my job. But it just wasn't the same.
Yeah. I understand. You couldn't be your full self, and so you didn't want to be showcased like that.
No.
All right. So you're in New York. You go to Boston. You play you go back to your hometown, and I don't know when the issues started for you in terms of when you started to having the need to use painkillers, or you were using painkillers.
I didn't use them.
Okay.
The only time I used them during my career is when I broke my arm.
Okay, so you're going out and you're drinking. You're drinking beer. You're having a good time. You're living a life of, drinking and whatever.
I drank a lot of beer.
Okay, you drank a lot of beer. So at what point does the shit hit the fan, so to speak, for you, or it didn't?
Not until I retired.
When you retired?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't until I retired.
Okay, so when you retire, everything unravels.
Yeah.
Okay, so everything that was suppressed and not dealt with and was like just one merry-go-around in circles was now the ride stopped.
Yeah, I had a difficult time transitioning from the game to real life. I was lost.
Yeah.
No better way to put it. I was just lost. I had such passion for the game. Loved it. You can prepare all you want financially, all that.
Right.
And it just, it's very difficult to make that transition. It was for me. A lot of guys struggle with it in sports, in the military.
Well, I could tell you myself as a phys ed teacher working 31 and a half years with a bunch of, people that I worked with, like camaraderie. And once the camaraderie was gone, it wasn't the job itself. I felt like, who am I? I'm by myself now. So I had to redefine myself. I guess, is that what you experienced?
Yeah, I was trying to, and I ended up, I started getting surgeries, and next thing I know, I'm taking pills, and right around 96, Percocet after surgery, another surgery, more Percocet. Then next thing I'm getting them on the street because I'm running out. The progression of the disease, more for the same, you got to take more for that same effect that you chase and chase.
Right.
And I know what was happening to me. I knew nothing about addiction, nothing. And I was taking so many of those Percocet every day. I thought, well, geez, this can't be good. All that, aspirin or Tylenol that's in it can't be good for my liver. I'm like, fuck. So that's when, right around 96, they come out with Oxycontin.
Yeah.
And I thought that's how sick I was. I'm like, wow, this will be healthier for me because synthetic form of the drug, the opiate, no Tylenol, no aspirin, no nothing. And I got going on those things, and it was just a fucking nightmare. I had doctors in Montreal, I had doctors in Boston, I had doctors everywhere. Crazy. I was so hopelessly addicted. I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about addiction. When
I understand. But you know what? The first step into, I think, addictive, any type of addiction, whether it be there's all different forms, right, of addiction. But once we understand, I think, the foundation of who we are and what we've not paid attention to in our lives somehow creeps up on us. And I think the life puts us on a path, I think, for us to define ourselves. And I think in your case, hearing all the stories, your interviews, and who you are as a person, not to butter you up, but it's very inspiring, because in spite of the fact, of what you've gone through, you're standing where you are. And I'm sure there are days that are more difficult than others, like anybody who's going through certain things. What was the main lesson that you learned from it?
Well, the addiction piece again, how do I get out of this? Like, what happens, and that threefold disease, addiction, alcoholism, whatever you want to call, I believe the disease of addiction, it's threefold. And you have that mental obsession, that physical allergy, and that spiritual malady. And I had all those. I grew up, Catholic. My mother taught me how to pray as a little kid and try to teach me the values that you should carry through life. And, I learned those things, but I got away from them. I forgot about them when I was fucked up on the drugs. All I could worry about is my addiction. And it was a friggin' nightmare. And until I realized that by going to treatment, I ended up meeting with an interventionist from the NHL who kind of sent me to a psychologist, a female that broke me down after 2 days and got me to really look where I was in my life.
Yeah.
Now it's, how did I get there? Why am I there? And what am I going to do about it? So I ended up going to treatment, and I got medically detoxed, right? We get sick first spiritually, then mentally, and then physically. When you treat it in reverse. Treat the physical first, then work on the mental piece, and then the last is the spiritual, because a lot of people, when they get to that part, want to head for the hills.
Right.
And that, it was difficult, but I certainly got it intellectually, understood there's a way out, but it takes work. You got to do some things you don't want to do so you can do the things that you want to do,
Absolutely.
And that means getting uncomfortable. And
right.
I've been used to being uncomfortable in my life. in a lot of situations, and I was. And I put the work in, and then things were going pretty good. And then I said, I got this, I'm all good. And ended up relapsing one evening, started drinking again, eventually got back to the pills. And then I was back to treatment in 09.
You talk about the spiritual path. I think we specifically people who are raised in a religious home have real no connection to the religious aspect of things if they're indoctrinated into a system.
Yeah.
In other words, you can't relate to it. You could just read something and then say, oh, this person reads the Bible, goes to church, but doesn't act like that person is a religious person. My friend asked me the other day, he said to me, I don't understand, you know, I do healing work, I do energy work, I do that kind of thing as it relates to understanding our soul, who we are as a person, and the trials and tribulations we go through in order to find ourselves, so to speak. So I think it's inspiring, you know, to at least struggle, because we don't learn any other way other than having sandpaper scratched across our skin to change the direction of where we're going. And
No question.
And so if you heed the advice, you become the true essence of who you're supposed to be. So through this experience, who were the people that supported you? Who was your support system?
Well, you know, Dan Cronin from the NHL, who led the horse to water,
Right.
was supportive. A good friend of mine back home, Phil, who has been good with me. And then when I was in treatment the second time in Oregon, a few people out there helped me big time. And I addressed some things. I did some really, I did trauma work. I did family of origin stuff that really, I guess, cleared some things up in my mind that helped me. And when I get out, you know, I realized, first of all, when I was in there, I realized I had to get honest with myself, which I did. Then I had to become open to new things, open-minded, and then become willing to do the work. And that's how I started to really understand what I had to do. But like the first time, I ended up getting 5 years sobriety. Life was good, and I stopped going to meetings. And you know, I go to meetings. I'm in a fellowship that certainly helps. And I got weak. My mom had a stroke. I ended up going home, and I ended up getting something that ended up having fentanyl in it. And the difference between me being sitting here right now and me not being here was the decision I made. Now, I don't know if it was the good Lord steering me in the right direction. I'd like to think that he wanted to keep me around for something more. And I ended up, I was at the hospital, instead of going into my car to do the drugs that I had, I went inside the hospital and I went into the bathroom just outside of my mother's room. And next thing, I woke up in the emergency room. I was brought back. And yeah, that was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, December 7th. And since then, I've done the things that are suggested to me. I thank God for Zoom during COVID. And I was on Zoom every day, 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I go and do a couple fellowship meetings a week. Yeah, I go every day, and I pay
Okay.
attention to what I'm supposed to.
Yeah, I just want to, from that experience, what's the advice that you can offer to somebody who's in a position or has that feeling that you had, or what could you offer them? Like, what's on the other side? What's around the corner from where you are?
Well, I ask for people who struggle with these things. One, there's no shame in asking for help. I had
Right.
the most difficult time asking for help because, I was the helper. I'm coming to your rescue. I didn't.
Right.
I don't want. Okay. Oh, can you help me? I felt terrible about that. I didn't want to ask anybody. So what I'd say, there's no shame in asking. And if you really want to do something about your life, you want to change your life, you can do it. And there's a path for everybody to get well. It's amazing what we can do as human beings to change our lives, but we got to be willing to get uncomfortable. And
Absolutely.
that helped me.
Yeah, and it's funny in I do shamanic work, which is incorporating the masculine and feminine qualities of who we are. In other words,
Yep.
the intuition, the wisdom, and grounding, the strength, the courage, the leadership, all
Yep.
that in common. Otherwise, when we're one but not the other, it's like this. We don't have the tree that doesn't get the sun; its leaves die, although it has its roots in the ground, which is strength. But without the sun hitting the leaves, the plant will never survive. And the same with us. If we don't incorporate both the wisdom of the universe, the intuitive part of ourselves, as well as the softer side of ourselves, where we ask for help or can give help equally, we're never in a state of balance. And so many men struggle with having to overcompensate to be more of the masculine than they need to be, because we come from homes and role models that taught us differently than what nature gave us.
Yep.
And so I grew up in a similar situation, but not the extent of the aggression. So that put me on that path. And so now, through all of this work, you wound up working on a radio station. And I don't want to go from one heavy.
That's fine. Don't
One
worry
heavy
about me,
All right,
please.
so you something happened that I'm passionate about. So you work, I don't know how many, 10 years did you work at the radio station?
Yep.
Okay, so you worked at a radio station called TSN in Canada.
Yeah.
And then when COVID hit, the shit hit the fan, so to speak, and the agendas that were put in place by people beyond people had followed certain agendas and delineated anyone's emotions, feelings, career, whatever existed. And it was people have experienced, I know, with teaching, losing a job, and so on and so forth. And this was your livelihood now. So what happened? If you could share this, if you want to share it.
COVID came and I was doing my show from home and, wasn't in contact with people. I had all the gear here at my house and away we were going good. And, I got COVID at the very beginning. I survived COVID. I had some issues medically with my veins and stuff from drug use that I wasn't willing to take a risk with something that one of the issues is clotting. Now, I originally was going to do it because I didn't want to lose my job. I can't afford to lose that income. And Jamie, the love of my life, said to me, hang on a minute, we got to take a look at this.
Right.
Let's not jump so quick. So we started to research more, talk to people, and I made the decision that there's no way I'm going to get this thing. I value my life too much. I had COVID. I survived it. And, I had a hard time with government because I believe that government, the people who work there, really, they lie. they cheat, they enrich themselves. They're aligned with big pharma, big corporations.
Yep.
And I don't trust government. That being said, the main thing was my health, worried about my health. And I ended up talking, my boss called me and said, listen, we got to come back in to the studio and you're going to be coming back in and they're going to require you to be vaccinated. And I said, well, I'm not getting vaccinated. He said, well, you're going to lose your job. You know that, Chris. I said, well, if I lose my job, I lose my job. And, you know, February, January come along. I lost my dad. I ended up February come around and February 30th came and yeah, they fired me. So ended up walking away from that. I was certainly at peace with my decision.
Right.
My best friend who struggled with whether to get vaccinated or not ended up getting vaccinated so he could fly to California and visit his grandkids. And he died of a massive blood clot in his heart. He had an aortic dissection.
Wow.
And what bothers me is that no one who has suffered vaccine injury or death has bothered in the government or the medical world. A lot of people have not bothered to find out why some of these people are dying. Some of these young kids, myocarditis, whatever it is, they die from.
Yep.
But a lot of clotting issues. And that really bothered me when I lost my friend Larry. Now, and another thing that bothered me, and believe me, I looked at people, yeah, you're selfish, this and that. Selfish my ass. You know, I'm someone who always put myself out there for other people. You know, I've always helped other people. And I thought, selfish, I said, who really got fucking vaccinated for someone else? They all got vaccinated for themselves. Okay, maybe my grandmother, my grandfather, my parents, I get vaccinated because I don't want to get them sick. My dad didn't get vaccinated. My mom didn't. And they were having no part of it. And it really bothered me that we're finding out more today. But, you know, Professor Emeritus at Yale University of Epidemiology, who was friggin' chastised, thrown under the bus, through the mud because he had a different opinion in science. And when we talk about science, we challenge each other.
Right.
So we can come up with the real fucking story. And what they did to other people, how they put them down, they shit on them. I was so disgusted with it. I don't care if people want to get vaccinated. That is your choice. But don't tell me I'm fucking selfish because I didn't get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I did the best thing for me in that situation. And when I found out, okay, some of these people who suffered from vaccine injury, government denied it, Fauci, all of them, doctors. And when people were getting COVID who were vaccinated, when it was supposed to keep you from getting it and keep you from passing it, that never worked. So what they did is they redefined it.
Yep.
And they said, oh, it'll keep you out of the hospital. My ass.
Yes.
So the lies after lie after lie after lie disgusted me, and it still does. I think it's a shame as a group, us Canadian citizens, American citizens, the people of the world are not going to get answers. Yep. And that really worries me and disgusts me.
Well, you mentioned
a fucking shame.
Yeah. Well, you say it's a shame, but it's actually the shame game that they played against people who are vulnerable to fall into that trap and afraid to stand up. But from your experience in your lifetime, having challenged systems, coaches, things you didn't agree with, there's probably no other way for you to live or exist other than Maybe then you should move to New Hampshire, right? Live free and die.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I was worried, and I talked to my girlfriend, Jamie, God bless her. I love her to death. And she really made me take a step back and look at the thing. I'm so glad she did now.
Oh.
I am so glad. And it sucked losing my job. But you know what? I'm okay. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay. And I started a podcast.
Hey,
I'm 65 years old.
I want to
It's
talk
not,
about that. Just
yeah,
quickly.
it's not easy to bounce back. 65 years old, starting something all new. It's not an easy thing to
I
do.
understand that.
But fuck it, I'm doing it.
I know.
I have no choice.
All right, so now this is what I wanted to lead up to that. So you have your Raw Knuckles podcast, which I watch. I enjoy it immensely. I love the guests. I love the authenticity. I love the stories that I grew up on, or the players I watched, and now they're in an age where they're going back in time and talking about things, or present people, actors you have on as well. And one of the interesting one was Serge Savard, Levi Cornway, and I think you had Steve Shutt together, the three of them, which was a nice show.
I had Serge, Conway, and Paul Henderson.
Okay, Paul Henderson when he had the Olympics, right? He was talking about the goals. So now you have so what's your main focus with the podcast? What are you trying to what kind of information are you trying to put out there with that?
Well, it
varies.
I was on the radio here for so long. I built up that following, people that wanted to hear my show, and they liked it.
Yeah.
I had that following that kind of followed me over to hockey. They wanted to hear hockey stuff, and it was a sports radio station, and I enjoy that. What I really am looking at down the road and want to do is I always wanted to be more than just hockey. I wanted to talk about life and the issues that affect us all.
Right.
And have different people on. Since I've started this podcast, I've been approached by a group to work, possibility of working with Patrick McEnroe, tennis player. And we're talking about maybe doing something along the lines of where sports and life collide.
That's beautiful.
Kind of looking at the Djokovic situation right now.
Yes. Tennis player.
Sports and life are colliding.
Right.
And so we've done a couple. It doesn't mean I'd stop my Raw Knuckles, but it would give me an opportunity maybe to branch out and do some other things and talk about some other things. Because, if they look at you as, someone who's talking about sports, hockey all the time, and all of a sudden I come on here and I'm talking about, how bees make honey.
Right.
Not good. So, we'll see. And I'm just plugging away. I have a good friend, Barry Reese, who he did The Last Gladiators, the documentary about hockey in my life. And Barry, when I got fired, stepped up to the plate big time and, said, Chris, I'll help you with this. And he's helped me, been incredible, friend to me. I can't tell you how grateful I am to have someone like that in my life because, again, I'm not sitting here crying, but we didn't make big money.
Right.
Making ends meet, not so easy.
I understand.
And I've honestly, to have people like that in my life, like Barry, and being able to have an opportunity with the Habs now as a ambassador, it's helped me to be able to get through some of these struggles. I'm not, by no means am I not where I was in that financial state, but I'm getting there and I'm working my ass off to do it.
Good. The last thing I wanted to ask you was, you're a supporter of the Liam Foundation. I have my shirt on.
Awesome. Oh, I didn't see that. Honestly, like the
microphone's in the way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I wear it. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah. Well, Liam, his dad's an Irish guy from Verdun here in Montreal, big Irish population. And I had met him at a dinner at the Bell Center one night, and we got talking, and his son came up. He got 3 other kids, and he got talking about Liam and saying, he's got some issues. He has a rare mitochondrial disease called POLG, POLG. And this guy, Kevin, what a friggin' sweetheart. Now, if it's my kid, I'm going to work my ass off to try and find a cure for my kid. And maybe others will benefit. But Kevin ends up raising money, because this is a really rare disease. None of the big pharma want to deal with it because they're not going to make money off it. Apparently, there's one in Spain that has come up with a drug that has shown promise. Like Liam now. Liam was supposed to be dead by the age of 10. He's right now, I think he's 7, 8. And Kevin has flown people in from the United States, from Brazil, put them up here, and got their kids on that medication. Like,
wow.
What I say, like, I want to help my kid. I got to fucking help someone from Brazil?
Right.
And he does this. And when I learned that, I mean, how can I help out? And, we started talking about some different things. Next thing I said, would you ever think of a golf tournament? He started out last year. We're doing the second year. My buddy Tom Regan, very good friend, the one who taught me the uppercut. He ended up, he rode his bike to raise money for a neighbor who was dying of cancer from South Boston to LA in 30 days.
Wow.
He promised he'd make it in 30 days. He did it. He raised like $100,000. He did one from Boston to Florida. So he called me, said, I'm thinking of doing a bike ride to Boston to Montreal, up through the mountains. And he said, I don't have a charity yet, but I don't know. He said, I just want to do this bike ride. I'd love to come back up to Montreal. We had some good times up there. So I said, sure. I said, I got the perfect thing. So they're going to do it. Kevin and I are going to fly down. We're going to, be the support van for them and bring it up to Montreal here and try and raise money for Liam and some of them other kids. It's such a it's so good to help other people, man. I love helping other people. I really do. I like to try and help someone every day if I can and not get caught.
That's a good one.
But some of these things I have to get caught, right? Because if I add my name to it, it can help.
It's funny.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they say, I used to tell the students, when you do something, you want to do it when nobody's watching. If you're doing something good.
Yeah.
Exactly those words, because otherwise it's for show. It's not from a genuine place.
Yeah. And, Kevin's a wonderful guy. And it's funny, we're playing a friend of mine who, when I got fired from TSN, he has a company, custom brokerage firm, and international freight forwarding, all that stuff. He's done really well. He busted his ass, and he hired me as an ambassador for his company. One of the things I had to do was go down to Florida with him and have dinner at Jack Nicklaus's house, play in Jack's golf tournament the next day. He has a Jake fund. His grandson passed away from a disease about 10 years ago. So he started this thing. And I went down and I'm playing golf, and the first green, I'm on there, and the guy says to me, and this is a guy from Montreal I just met, and he said, listen, here's the deal. You make that putt, I'll give you what he said, what's your charity? I said, the Liam Foundation. He said, you make that putt, I'll give you $1,000. So I drained the putt. Next hole, boom, 12-footer. He goes, you make this, another 1,000. Boom, I drain it. Next hole, same thing, but I missed. So the fourth hole, he gets up there, he goes, 15-footer, $100 a foot, 1,500 if you make this putt. I drain it. We get on the next hole, and I duff my drive. I'm 251 from the green. It's a par 4. I got a tree with my hand. He goes, wait. I go, what? He goes, 5,500 for Liam if you put this on the green. So I hit the 3-wood, cuts in, bounces once, rolls up right by the pin, 10 feet away,
Wow.
5,500. Now I'm up to 9,000. So I get up to the green. I go to putt the ball. And just before I putt, I go, hey, Mark, how about an even 10 grand if I drain the putt for birdie? He said, you got it. I drained it.
Oh my God.
I came home. The next 2 days later, he had me over for dinner at his home. I walked in the door, $10,000 check for Liam. His father was so happy. Like, he is a tireless worker for his son and other people, and I just want to help him. You know, I'm so grateful. I have some healthy kids, healthy grandkids, and
Yeah.
you know, my mom is suffering from dementia, and so it's, you know, life challenges us, and you know, if you just sit back and don't do nothing, you don't try and help, and all you do is worry about yourself. Me.
All right.
That's the way I want to live my life.
On that note, maybe you could leave us with a positive message that you want to send or say or speak of. What's something positive you can share? Positive advice or wisdom in life.
Yeah, well, you know, for me, when I think, like, I think of, because everything for me has been centered around addiction, how bad it is, and how my life got. No matter how far you go down the rabbit hole, no matter how bad it gets, there is a way out. There's always a way out. You got to be willing to take that first step. You got to be willing to reach your hand out and ask for help. You got to be willing afterwards to do that work and realize that, man, you can change your life. It's up to you. And you can live a good life without alcohol, without drugs, things that take you out of yourself. And a lot of people just don't know that there is a way, and there is a way. And believe me, if I can do it, no reason why anybody else, no matter where you are, who you are, can't do it either. And yeah, it's just you got to dig in and really want it.
Beautiful words. I want to leave the audience just with, you know, you do something at the end of your show, which I love, which is comparing one to the other. So I have 4 things that I put here from your Instagram, from the things I watch. It entertains me. I don't like to be entertained too much, but I like it because I relate to it. So, okay. So you tell me now, ready? Cuginis or Moishes?
Oh, Cuginis.
Okay. The Habs Cave or the Hockey Hall of Fame?
Ooh, Habs Cave.
Okay,
I'm not in the Hall of Fame. I'm in the Habs Cave.
Doesn't matter. But in terms of being it, fishing or golfing?
Ooh. Oh, this one is a toughie for me. I'm going to say fishing.
Okay. So the Habs home jersey or the away jersey? So the home one being the red, the white being the away.
Home all day, every day. Red. We used to wear that on the road all the time. It's like crazy. We wore them white ones at home, and then they finally changed it. That red jersey is classy, nice. You know?
I have it too. I got the LaFleur jersey.
That's awesome.
Okay,
awesome
so
stuff.
East Coast, Quebec, Pacific, Hawaii.
Oh.
But I mean, you got to. Could you live there full time? I mean, that's what I mean.
Yeah. No, part time.
Okay.
I love Hawaii, but part time.
Okay. And the last question: a square or a round slice?
Oh, pizza?
Yeah.
Oh, the triangle size.
Triangle size.
Okay. Yeah. And
all right.
Pizza.
All right. So on that note, we left off on something because I got to eat lunch myself. I'm hungry now, and I watch you eat and cook, and so it's pretty interesting. So I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you and share your life and to share your ups and downs and to take part in this. It's inspiring for me.
It's been fun, Adam. Thanks for having me, and I hope it's successful.
Well, I'll pass it along, the information, and thank you.
All right. Good stuff, buddy.